We are back on Morning Line. It's our final segment. The number on the screen if you want to join. We've had several calls this morning talking with Ken Paulson over at MTSU Free Speech Center, and it's good to have him on just about the concept of banning books, which we see maybe going in that direction. Ken, just moving forward then, as we sit here today, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Is this, as one of our callers said, something that's being driven maybe by special interests and that it's the flavor of the moment, or do you worry it's going to go something beyond that? Is he there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay. It's definitely the flavor of the moment, and it is part of a broader strategy to frame everything in terms of parental rights. The laboratory for this is Florida right now. And I think what will happen is that a lot of the combat over this will disappear after Election Day, and it will subside again. This is all about, this is all about midterms and creating an environment in which one political party can position itself as protecting the family, protecting children. But you will not see this as aggressively after the midterms. You may see it ramp up again for the presidential election, but it clearly is politically driven. One thing I meant to mention, Nick, is, we have this legislation and we have a general understanding of it, but I probably should note that based on its language, it is totally unenforceable. What it does is this effort to limit books defines those books as being obscene. And again, the U.S. Supreme Court has firmly established what obscenity is, including how to apply obscenity, which is not just porn. Frankly, most people don't know this, but most, Playboy is not obscene. Obscenity is a legal status, and it means something fundamentally that is sexual in nature or, forgive me here at this hour, exploratory in nature, that appeals primarily to prurient interests and has no redeeming social value.
Right.
That's why very few books in society can ever be found without any redeeming social value. So this comes from the Tennessee obscenity law, which is adapted from that. In order to successfully establish a book as being obscene and to be subject to this, you would have to find a couple of very important things. That this book, and think Kite Runner, think To Kill a Mockingbird, appeals predominantly to the prurient, shameful, or morbid interests of minors. Predominantly. Well, that doesn't apply to any of the controversial books. So predominantly there's a story, but there's a passage, a paragraph or two that troubles some parents. And then you have to establish that, taken as a whole, it lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific values for minors. Mouse won a Pulitzer Prize. You cannot ban it. Here's the problem, Nick, and you hear it in the voices of the people who are calling in. We're all frustrated by this ignorant assault on learning, on teachers, on librarians, on ideas. But in a state like Tennessee, where one political party controls everything, what can you and I do? What can parents do meaningfully to dissuade the legislature from doing this kind of reckless stuff? They know they are not going to be tossed out of office because there are parents upset about a book ban. They are so secure, they're so smug. And how in the world can you turn this around? This show is a huge plus. I love the people who are calling into your show. But there is no political power for those who would defend minors. And somehow somebody's got to harness the energy of the entire educated state, the state that cares about their kids participating in the marketplace of ideas. Because this legislature feels no pressure at all to do the right thing when it comes to the free flow of ideas.
Right. Okay. And so you just laid that out. How you do that, I hope you're right, and I think you are. I mean, it's something that comes along because we're about to have an election, and it'll die down, and it may come back up again. And these do surface periodically. It's not the first time we've had issues along these lines. But I don't know. Do you think that will happen? I mean, let's face it. Many of the parents who probably don't like the idea of banning books have probably also not read Mouse. Okay, it doesn't really occur. And when you take it personally, I'll tell you this: I'm much more intimately familiar with To Kill a Mockingbird, and when I hear someone as a parent wanting to ban that book, as in the past, sometimes that's been brought up, that viscerally makes me angry and riles me up to wanting to take action, meaning that if there were any lawmaker that suggested that, they instantly would not get my vote, irregardless of where they stand on any other issue. They're done with me because it makes me so mad. I wonder if that's what it has to get to, and how many parents out there have even read To Kill a Mockingbird or Mouse or any of those.
Well, there have to be political consequences for those who pass, in this case, unnecessary laws. We're talking primarily about Republicans here, although I try very hard not to describe anything in my work in political terms. But there is a Republican philosophy about keeping government out of our lives. Why would a Republican majority be comfortable with legislation that duplicates what's already on the books, totally unnecessary, the expense of having hearings and everything else? There just need to be a lot of people speaking out and making the legislators who pass this stuff uncomfortable. And we just need to have a more unified voice. I mean, obviously there are good people doing great work, and I applaud the National Public Library and others who say, we read banned books. That attitude is too rare. Banned books are often the most valuable books you could possibly read.
Yeah, it comes down to, as you just said, politics. And the bottom line on this, these lawmakers that don't want, or go ahead and pass these things, are doing so right, saying, oh, we're pro-family values, oh, we're protecting your children, just superficially. And what constituent among them is not pro-family values and protecting children? And that's all they hear. And all they'll do is say, on the superficial level, well, there's some stuff that's just dastardly in that book, and my gosh, if your child gets hold of that, it's going to rot their brain. And the parents just like listening, oh, he's pro-family, I'm going to vote for him. This guy wants to rot my child. That's really, I hate to say it, it's that simplistic these days with our electorate. It's just, that's their campaign slogan, pro-family values. That book teaches bad stuff, and they just buy it and sell it.
Yeah, Nick, sadly, we're tackling one issue today, but we live in a nation where people read less than they've ever read before. The stunning percentage of Americans do not get news directly from news sources. You've talked to people, I'm sure, who say, I get it from Facebook. And where do they think Facebook got it from? And the other thing about the internet is it becomes the great equalizer of all news organizations. So you're looking at a Bing or the Google first page, the news page, and there's all these blogs, right-wing, left-wing, mixed with the AP and the New York Times. People just are not as informed. They're not as smart as they once were. They are not thinking as critically as they once did. And this morning, I have no solution for that.
Yeah, it's a whole other show. We can just get, it all goes back to the demise of the fairness doctrine, my friend. As far as just wondering about some of your classes at MTSU and the students that you have in there, do you have some discussions? I would imagine there are some students that maybe for their own reasons are supportive of some of these ideas, depending on their background. What kind of conversations, how do you sense young people at the collegiate level view this issue?
Well, I think college students, and the ones I'm getting are typically upper class students, they get to college and their world opens. Suddenly they have choices about what to study. Suddenly they see a connection between what they study and what they will do for the rest of their life. They suddenly meet people of a different race, a different faith, perhaps people with political or social backgrounds they have never been introduced to before. And so for all the contention that professors somehow shape kids' minds to become liberals, that's nonsense. The shaping is done by students living life and actually having their eyes opened. There's a reason that students come out of college somewhat more liberal than they came in, because their worldview has changed. And when you know more people, when you know more situations, when you understand the scope of the world better, you can be more compassionate. And that's why college is so valuable for young people. So by the time I get them, they understand, by and large, that the free flow of ideas is a very good thing. I will say we are seeing tension on college campuses now, and I guess it's understandable given the environment, where there is an intellectual understanding of the need for free speech, but there are others who are deeply troubled by hate speech and want to see that be made an exception. And of course, I explained that once you make exceptions to free speech because you're uncomfortable with it, you've lost your free speech. But sometimes that takes a little bit more persuading than you might think.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can just squeeze in. We just have 3 minutes left. A call from Linda. Linda, good morning. Hi, Linda.
I'll try to make this quick. I've heard about the books, Mouse and the Catcher in the Rye and all, but is there an extensive list of books that are banned, and where would I find that? And I think it's all in trying to cover up a lot of our history that they're trying to cover up.
That's part of it we didn't get into. The whole issue of certain textbooks maybe making children feel lousy, and maybe the treatment of blacks in this country, of course, and questions of how that's being taught. What do you think? It sounds to me like she wants a list of books that have been banned so she can get them and read them all.
Well, the American Library Association website has reported on this steadily. Also, if you just Google banned books list, you'll find them.
There's a bunch.
And it's unfortunately being mimeographed in mimeographed. That's a 1960 word. It's being copied and shared worldwide, and other legislators are trying to limit that. So, bottom line is those lists are out there, and I wish they weren't.
If you get a chance, Ken, could you send me a list by teletype? I remember that. You put the phone in there. Remember that? And it would move. Those were the days.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Hey,
if you prefer Morse code is available.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, times have changed. And, well, listen, I really appreciate you coming on and talking this morning. Part of it is I love having you on because then I vent and you sit there and you're very nice about it. But I think you know where I come down on this issue. But thank you for coming on. Appreciate all you do. You've been a wonderful, wonderful person trying to keep people at least informed about what's going on and having a level head about it. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Nick. My pleasure.
Always a pleasure. We'll talk again. Thank you much. Ken Paulson with MTSU. Listen, we'll take a break. Come back. Programming note as we wrap things up right after this.
I've been on the low. I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind.
As a college football Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion, I battled anxiety and depression with the same regularity as blitzing defenses.
It feels like my life ain't mine. Who can relate?
300-pound linemen became easier to